All right, what's up, guys? In today's video, we will be discussing how to run far and build a robot muscle. So, some background about me: I've been doing long distance running for about 15 years old, or for about 15 years. I will be 29 next month, so I'm currently 28. I've been doing long distance running since I was 13 for the past 15 years. I got into bodybuilding about 8 years ago this month, and I've been bodybuilding and running long distances concurrently for the past 8 years, and I've put on about 40 pounds of muscle while maintaining the same body fat percentage. I went from 140, 9% body fat to about 180, currently about 12% body fat, but I've been down to 7-6% body fat, almost stage ready. But yeah, I've ran 11,000 miles since 2017 when I first started bodybuilding. So I've run a 4 minute and 52-second mile, a 16-minute 51-second 5K. I've run plenty of marathons, plenty of 10Ks. But anyways, here is how to run far and build muscle. It's not complicated. People make it overly complicated, but here's how I did it. All right, step one. Um, so in order to build muscle, you always have to be eating at or above maintenance. So one problem a lot of people make when they start running is that they're not eating enough calories. So in order to build muscle, you have to find your maintenance calories, and you can find your maintenance calories by going to Google and searching TDEE calculator. Once you're there, you enter the information the calculator requests from you, and it'll give you an approximate maintenance calories. And of course, you want to factor in your maintenance calories with running, and of course, it's an approximation. So what I recommend doing is eating at the maintenance calories it gives you for about 2 weeks, and noticing any fluctuations in weight. So if you're maintaining weight, then the maintenance calories it gave you were accurate. If you're losing weight, the maintenance calories it gave you were too low. If you're gaining weight, the maintenance calories it gave you were too high. So what I recommend doing is eating at maintenance for about 2 weeks and seeing how your body reacts. Okay, but ideally, you want to be eating at or above maintenance. Okay, um, so if you eat too far above maintenance, you're gaining a lot of fat. But if you eat below maintenance, you won't gain muscle. But if you want to maintain your physique, maintain your muscle, maintain your strength, um, you want to eat at maintenance level, at the very least. Okay. Number two, and this is also a huge mistake a lot of people make. A huge mistake is, even though you're running, you always have to prioritize lifting. Okay, you always have to prioritize lifting, and this doesn't matter. Again, this is how to run far and build muscle or maintain muscle. Okay, in order to build and maintain muscle when you are running far, you have to prioritize lifting, even though it might not be your number one priority. So, for example, let's say you're training for a marathon. A lot of hybrid athletes who bodybuild and run, they switch priorities, and when you switch priorities, that's when you start um, losing strength and losing muscle. Okay, of course you can get the strength and muscle back. This video is how to run far and build or maintain muscle. Okay, so in order to build and or maintain muscle when running far, you have to prioritize lifting. So how do you prioritize lifting? Well, in my experience of doing this 8 years, you always have to lift weights before you run. This is step one. Okay, you always lift weights before you run. Okay, so I have no idea what the science is behind it, but if you ever run and then lift weights, your your run or your lift will be greatly affected. Okay. In my experience, if I run anything over like 2.2 miles, my lift will be uh, adversely affected. Okay. So you always want to lift weights before you run. It doesn't matter if you run 10 miles at 7 a.m., eat 4,000 calories in between, and then lift at 7 p.m. Your lift is still going to be affected. In my experience, as someone who's been doing this for 8 years, even if you have 12 hours and 4,000 calories in between sessions, your lift will still be affected. So, in order to build muscle and run far or maintain muscle and strength at the very least, you always have to lift before you run. Okay, no matter what. I don't care if you have energy drinks and 4 or 5,000 calories in between sessions. They're 12 hours apart. Always lift before you run. I don't know the science behind it, but it just is what it is. All right. Number two, um, you have to maintain your intensity and frequency. Okay. So if you were training 6 days a week prior to training for a marathon, you still have to train lifting 6 days a week. Of course, you could technically get away with a little less volume technically, in order to maintain. But as far as building muscle goes, yeah, you're gonna have to maintain intensity and frequency. Again, I'll say this one more time. When it comes to maintaining, yeah, you could probably lower the volume down if you're eating enough food, but you start to have problems when you decrease the volume and decrease intensity. If you're going to decrease the volume, you're going to have to increase the intensity to make up for that difference. Okay, so you always have to eat before lift before you run and maintain. Ideally, you want to maintain frequency and maintain intensity. So if you're training 6 days a week prior to running, you train 6 days a week while you're training for a marathon. Okay. Step three, this kind of ties into step one, but you want to make sure you're eating enough food. More specifically, you want to make sure you're eating enough protein. Now, in my experience, as someone who does this stuff, at a bare minimum, you need 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. But because you are running more, I would recommend eating about 1.25 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So if you're 200 pounds, that means you need to eat a minimum of 200 grams of protein per pound of body weight. But ideally, you would like to eat 250 grams of protein. Now, with that being said, life gets in the way. Um, and calories are more important than protein. So, for example, there would be days where I wouldn't be able to get enough protein in because of life. But however, even though I couldn't get enough protein in, I always make sure to get enough calories in. So if my maintenance was 5,000 calories for a day, I would always make sure to eat 5,000 calories, even though I knew I wouldn't be able to get 250 grams of protein or whatever in. And I would do that by eating fast food and peanut butter, just high caloric food. But of course, a lot of you might be thinking, well, fast food's not healthy. No, it is not healthy. But this is about how to run far and build muscle or maintain muscle. Okay. In order to do that, you have to get calories. The second you start eating below maintenance, um, is the second you start losing strength and muscle. And you can't have that because if you're running long distances and not eating enough food, your strength and muscle will go away very, very, very quickly. Okay. And the fat will come off, but along with the fat will be muscle and strength. Okay. And so that's why you really can't afford to not be eating adequate amounts of protein. So if you have to eat fast food to get your calories, if you have to stuff your face with peanut butter to get your calories, then do it. So be it. Okay. Um, so you always want to try to hit your protein goal no matter what. Okay. You always want to prioritize your protein goal. But if you can't, just eat enough food that'll put you at maintenance calories. So for example, a couple summers ago, I was running like 80 miles a week. Okay. But I wouldn't have dinner until like 7 or 8 p.m. And so obviously I would have to eat fast food because there was no way I was going to eat like lean protein, before going to bed at like 10. So pretty much I just ate like Zaxby's, Chipotle, Taco Bell to get enough food in. It wasn't healthy, of course, but I was maintaining strength and muscle. I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you eat healthier, but at the very least, when push comes to shove, make sure you're eating enough food. All right, and lastly, drink an adequate amount of water. A lot of people aren't drinking enough water, even if they're not running. But according to literature, and in my personal experience, being even slightly dehydrated can greatly impact your performance. For example, there are studies that show that if you're just barely slightly dehydrated, you can decrease your strength by about 10%. And while 10% might not seem like a lot, well, if your bench press is 300 pounds, your max bench press goes down to 270. So 30 pounds, that's quite a big deal, right? But anyways, that is how you run far and build muscle. These are all the things I've learned over the past 8 years of doing this. If y'all are interested in coaching, I offer coaching. Links in the bio, but links in the description below. How to bodybuild, how to get jacked, how to get shredded, how to bodybuild and run concurrently, all that good stuff. And if y'all enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.